In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, I'd like to show you how you can zoom in on parts of an image to highlight or teach something by having something pop up. It could be historical, where you have a battle, you want to zoom in on a certain place and show this happened at this location at this point in time. It could be more contemporary. We're going to use an example of highlighting in on a current map to show houses that are for sale. Please look at the following example, and then we'll show you how to do this. The first step in the process is to have my image. It can be a picture, photograph, whatever. I'm going to use this generic map and drag it and drop it on track number 1. Then we'll just stretch out the duration of it. Now my map happens to be a proportion that I don't want to use. I want a 16 by 9 to fill the screen. So I'll click the crop tool above the timeline, and then I'll choose from original to 16 by 9. And so I'll need to manually decide what part of the image I want to use. Let's use the upper part, and we'll just take the corners and move in until we have something close to what we need, and click on OK in the lower right corner. So there's my image. What I want to do is zoom in on the image. So now I need to do some keyframing. So with the image highlighted, I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to click on the image part. And I want to go on Advanced to do this. So I'm going to click on Advanced. And we have to decide, we're going to start looking at the image. I'm going to use a lot of keyframes by using the time code. I find that helpful. I'll click on the time code for seconds, type 3, and press Enter. And then I'm going to right click and add a timeline marker. So I could give it a name. I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm going to click on OK. So we move in this far, and then I'm going to set 2 keyframes. So right now it's going to be full screen. Then I'm going to go in, say 2 seconds more, which will hit me at 5, press Enter, add a timeline marker. And this is where I'm going to zoom into my first property. So I'm going to type in first property and click OK. So I'm going to be on that property, let's say for 5 seconds. That gives me 10. I'm going to press right click and add a timeline marker. And here we're going to say end first property. Okay, so now I have my timeline markers. I need to make sure I keep adding a position and scale keyframe at each of them. Okay, then we're going to back out. So over here I'm at 10 seconds, so I'm going to go to 12, press Enter, hit 2 keyframes again, and this is the time I will zoom back. So I have a timeline marker here I need to set, right click, add marker, I'll put zoom back, zoom full screen. And we'll say full screen for say 2 seconds, I'll hit 14. And right click a timeline marker. I don't think I want to give that a name. You see the process here. Alright, so I'm back to full screen, and then we need to zoom in again to another location. We'll go to 16 seconds. Right click, I do a timeline marker, and I'll put in second property. And click on OK, and I need these 2, and we're going to stay there for 5, so we're going to make this 21, and I'll do a timeline marker here and zoom out, back out soon, and let's click OK, and we'll take 2 seconds to zoom out, so that'd be 23. and right click. Okay, zoomed out. And we set the timeline markers. Click OK, and these values. Okay, now what I need to do is at the timeline marker where I'm zooming in, it would be from here to this one here. Now I got to change my image here, and then we're going to zoom in at that particular location. So I need to go by object settings, and in this case here we're going to zoom in. Let's zoom in to this location over here. I'm going to center it, and then we're going to change the scale. I'm going to zoom in on this property. So that's the value here. And this one, all I need to do is right click and say duplicate from previous keyframe. And we'll take this one and we'll duplicate too. So now we're zoomed in for the length of time here. And we're zoomed back out on this one for this duration. Now we're going to zoom in again to another location here. So I want to do zoom in on this one. Let's zoom in to this property over here. That'll be in the center of the screen. We're going to scale it up. Move around. Then we're going to right click on this one and we'll do, I want to repeat the previous keyframe, duplicate, and we're going to duplicate the scale to there. So now I have that one. So now I have my motion. We're going to put our objects on the screen here in a minute, but let's see what we've got when we play this. We have our map. Okay, we're going to zoom in to location number 1, and we hold that for 5 seconds, and then we come back out. All right, then we're going to zoom in on location number 2, and then we'll continue playing. That we're in location 2, we'll zoom back out, and we're full screen. So we can repeat this as much as we want. So let's stop there, and let's go back, and we have our image of a house. Now we're going to use this on a couple of places. Let's take this image, and I'm going to take it on the first location. When we're zoomed in, there we have our house. I'm going to increase the duration, and that's where the keyframes and the markers are helpful. There's our house. Now I could have it this size. I think I'll make it just a little bit smaller. So I need to edit it. So I click here, and let's change the height and width just a tad. And let's change the location. Now I have my house. Now I want to change something about the house. I want to change the animation. I'm going to make it pop in. So click on this and it'll pop in. So that's a nice feature. So now I have an animated house. I also want to tell people about the price of the house. So we're going to add a title. So I'm going to go to my title room. I'll take the generic plain text my title, drag it down and put it in that same area. And I want to do some editing on it. So I'm going to double click on it, and let's make the title a different color. Let's change the color to black and make it bold too. And I also want to, let's make this the price. So I'm going to put a background behind it. Let's do this one. It should automatically give it a background. And so we're going to call this $425K, $1,000. And I want it centered. I also want to add the location. So I could add a separate title, but in this case, I'm going to go to Advanced on my title. And what I want to do then is add a second title. So I just click on the T here at the top, and it'll give me another one. I'll call this 456 Oak Street. Now I can take the second one and drag it down and separate it from the first one. Let's give that one a backdrop. I can use the default one or change it. Let me change it to something brighter here. Now click on OK, and I'm going to change the font to be slightly different to distinguish it from the other one. Let's take something quite different here. This one here, and I'm going to change the size down a little bit, maybe 14. So I have the title and I have the location. And we can tweak these all we want in terms of how they work with each other. So that is my price and that is my location. I'll click on OK. Now the other thing I want to do is make sure that they don't override each other. So we have look at our house here, and I might want to take the title and drag these down a little bit. They move together because they're on the same title track, which is what I want. So the house pops in, we have the price, we have the location. I want to add one more feature. I want to add an arrow showing whether the price has gone up or down. So to do that, I need to be in my overlays room. And I want to go into the stickers. Now, I often don't think of these as stickers, but I'm going to go into the subcategory called Tutorial Creation down here, and then I have arrows. There are other stickers you can use. Let's take the red one. Okay, that's the one I want. And I'll put that on another track. We'll have it come in and stay. So I want to increase the duration of the arrow. Now the arrow's going the wrong way, so I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. I can change the height and width if I want to. Let's take it like this. We're not going to edit that in this particular tutorial. But now that I've got that done, I want to change a feature. I'm going to click on Edit. And let's change the way in which the arrow comes in. I'm going to use, I have a sliding 05, I believe here. Try that one. So there it goes. Okay, that's good. That's what I want. So I have all these features. Let's give myself a little more room down here. I have these three features together. I'm going to take them and I'm going to do Control-C to copy. And I'm going to move in my marker over to the next area. I'll move here where I have the second picture come in. It says second property. Do Control-V to paste. And now the only thing I have to change in this one is go back into the titles, and we're going to change the address. Okay, I've changed that. Let's change the amount, and we'll leave the arrow as though it also increased in price. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's play it and see what we have. Okay, we're going to see it. Zoom in on property number 1. The house will pop up. The arrow will pop up. We have the address. And then it will pop back out to full screen. And then it zooms in. And we have the house and the arrow and the address. And you can obviously modify any of this any way you want to customize and add as many different locations and pop-ups, historically, geographically, whatever you'd like to do. That's how you can achieve this kind of result in CyberLink PowerDirector.